source of truth data. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the I'm Possible podcast. And find out about our recent conversation with a former NASA software engineer and how it relates to running your digital marketing business. We're going to do like a roundtable discussion here on this particular episode with the wonderful I'm Possible team, all about knowing basically where the heck your biggest lifetime value of your customers coming from on marketing channels. So we have the wonderful Mia Elise, who is our funnel and marketing strategy magician. We have Sally Savasca, who is our wonderful social media marketing organic magician. We have Ashley Nellett, who is our wonderful Facebook ads magician. And I just do a little bit of magic around copywriting. So, Mia, Mia, why don't you take it away? Because we just got fresh off an hour call with this NASA former NASA software engineer. And we thought this would be such an amazing topic for today's podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So we all know that a funnel is nothing without traffic. The if you build it, they will come theory does not apply to sales funnels. You must push traffic through your sales funnels in order for them to actually do something. So we want to talk today about the different sources of traffic that can go through a sales funnel and the best ways to track that traffic. Because a lot of times what we do when we start out is we build a funnel and we believe that just in order to test the funnel, we want to push as much traffic as possible through the funnel because we're testing an idea, we're testing an offer. And then what happens is we get so far down the road of this funnel, and whether it's working or not working or whatever, and then we forget that that all traffic sources are not created equal. And we have no way to track whether or not one particular thing is doing it over the other. In past experience, and I believe all of us have had this experience, we might be talking to a client and they might be running Facebook ads, they're doing some promotion on their Instagram, they're running sales through their email, et cetera, et cetera. And they think that Facebook ads are working because that purchase pixel is firing, right? And telling Facebook that there was a purchase that was made. And so they might think that their Facebook ads are working for them, but in reality, it's really their organic push that's doing all the heavy lifting, and they're wasting a ton of money in the wrong place. So we want to talk about one, what are the traffic sources that can go through a funnel? And then two ways that you can track effectively your traffic sources and what they're resulting in there. So traffic sources, there's two categories. I have notes, if I'm looking down, that's why. There's two categories. There is organic and there is paid. So first I want Sally to talk a little bit about organic traffic sources. What are a few ways to push traffic through funnels organically? Oh, you're muted, Sally.
Sorry, there's construction outside, so I'm trying to minimize the noise. Yeah, well, we could talk about that for probably a month straight if we wanted to. There's so many different things you could be doing. But we focus a lot on Facebook for our own business and Instagram. And then we just started not too long ago with YouTube. But they can all drive traffic, every single platform out there. The question is, what makes the most sense for your business, right? Because if you are a professional and you're looking for owners of businesses and directors and that kind of thing, LinkedIn's your jam. If you want to do B2C and some B2B, Facebook's great. Get in there and join different groups in your niche. And your competitors aren't necessarily really competitors. You can actually partner with people. So that's huge. So a lot of people say, oh, I want to steer clear of this one or that one because they're my competitor. Well, there's no such thing anymore. You really can joint venture with just about anybody. So everything you can do to get your stuff out there with all the platforms makes sense.
Awesome. So we've got podcasts, which is what we're doing right now. So if you have a podcast, or if you are featured on other people's podcasts. That's a great way. If you don't currently have a podcast, it's an excellent way to push your stuff out there through other people's podcasts who might have an audience that's interested in what you are, what you teach or what you talk about, your niche. There's Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. Sally brought up LinkedIn, which I hadn't even considered. If you are a B2B, that's a great place, is LinkedIn. And then email, just good old fashioned email list. You know, everybody teaches that you need to grow an email list. That's like Amy Porterfield's mission in life, is that everybody have an email list. So that's an excellent way to push organic traffic. So paid, on the opposite spectrum of organic, is paid traffic. So Ashley, will you talk to us a little bit about paid traffic?
Sure. So, I mean, you've heard us talk at length about Facebook and Instagram paid traffic, but there's also a few other options. So there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's organic Pinterest, as well as paid at Pinterest. There's same thing with Facebook, Instagram. All of these have the organic and a paid aspect to them, which is something I talk about with my clients. How, yes, it's coming from Facebook, but as you had said, Mia, is it coming from paid Facebook or organic Facebook?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also Google. You can have Google search ads, pay per click, and then YouTube as well. So there's lots of different options. Of course, there's endless numbers, but those are the top ones that I see clients using. We even said ManyChat. If you've got a chatbot funnel running, you can have that type of option. I actually have an interesting story about tracking and why it's important. This might be like a good segue for how do we like actually track. And I had a new client sign on recently, and they have 3 top of their funnels that lead to the same sales on the back end. So they had a quiz, they had a freebie, and then they had just straight to the webinar. And on the back end of the quiz and the freebie, there was the opt-in to the webinar. And they've been running it for a few months, and they're making 10, 11,000 a month on it. They're doing great. The issue was they didn't really know where the leads were coming from that were actually buying, because they weren't tracking on the back end. So they had these 3 funnels all running traffic to them and didn't know where these sales were coming in every week. So the first thing we did was sit down, look at previous data and say, okay, well, your freebie is bringing in 70% of the traffic. So let's move budget there instead of having it go to other places. So that's an example of why it's very important to know and have your tracking set up.
Yeah, for sure. Which we'll talk about in just a minute. So we've got organic, we have paid, and then we have this other like I guess it's a third category of traffic. And Maria, this is something that is near and dear to your heart, affiliates. Will you talk to us a little bit about how affiliates can push traffic through your funnel?
Yeah, no, affiliates is huge. I mean, it's honestly how I made my first $1 million online, selling a $17 information product, is all through affiliates. This is, I think, even before Facebook ads existed, because this was like 2009, 2008. If you give your affiliate, think about it. If you're using paid traffic, you're paying for customer acquisition, right? Which, say you're paying $50 to acquire a customer, and hopefully your average order value or your lifetime value within 30 days is greater than $50. But so if you're selling something for, $100 even, and if you're giving 50% or 40% seems to be the industry standard now, commissions to someone, Mia said something really brilliant at the beginning of this, saying friends buy from friends. Mm-hmm. And, when an affiliate promotes you, the people that they're referring to you know, like, and trust that affiliate, right? And then that person, like for instance, when like Jason Fladlin won one of my contests, and I was giving away a 67 Mustang for the top affiliate. I remember, because they know and like trust him, then when he refers his list over to me, they're going to, of course, naturally be a higher converting audience. And I know one large scale marketer just in the last 30 days in a mastermind I'm in kind of said, oh my goodness, I just realized that of all my traffic sources, and he does Facebook, YouTube ads, and email, everything, Instagram. And he just said, wow, the traffic coming from affiliates are actually producing a higher lifetime value after 30 days than all the rest of the traffic combined, which is interesting because, we all believe we shouldn't put all our eggs in one basket. You should have different marketing channels of your traffic, but it does show, well, maybe then you should hire an affiliate manager in this case, or in Ashley's case, maybe one of those funnels for that client was producing more. Maybe you hire, someone to focus on that channel and become like, oh, let's go find affiliates for that one funnel. Like it's the power behind data that going back to the name of this podcast, source of truth data, that allows you to make effective strategic actions from that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's segue into ways to track traffic. There's two ways that we want to talk about today. I'm sure there are a million other ways to track traffic. We're going to talk about two of them. The first way is through UTM parameters. And then the second way is through duplicate funnels. So first we'll talk about UTM parameters. If you're not familiar with what UTMs are, they are, I don't even know what UTM stands for. Somebody Google that shit real quick.
Tracking mechanism.
Say that again.
I have no idea.
Track. That sounds about on point. Let's see. UTM. Let's Google that shit real quick.
Would it be unique tracking mechanism?
No, I'm sorry. It's Urchin. Urchin tracking module.
Oh, wow. I would never have guessed that.
That's
if
hilarious.
You don't know, now you know. It is a Google tracking mechanism that you append to your URLs. And it has 5 levels of tracking. So at the highest level is the source. I actually need to pull this up because I don't want to be wrong. Okay, so at the highest level, it is the source. So if you imagine the different ways in which you are sending traffic to your funnel, source would be like the highest level, right? So a source could be a podcast, Facebook paid ads, like Instagram paid ads, Pinterest, affiliates, email,
Instagram stories.
Yeah, if you want to get super granular, you can do Instagram stories. But the source at the highest level, that you want to be tracking at least your source. The second level would be the medium. So this identifies what type of link it was used, such as like cost per click, or you could even do like at like whether it was a broadcast or an autoresponder. You could do Instagram story versus Instagram feed. Like if you wanted to get super granular and figure out like where specifically as a part of this source medium are you actually getting the best data. The next level would be a UTM campaign. So if we wanted to be like super specific, maybe a spring sale or a flash sale or Black Friday sale, or whether it's
evergreen, just e.g.
Oh, evergreen. Yeah. So evergreen versus a launch, whatever, like those kinds of things would fall under campaign. And then term. So UTM term, this applies to usually like if we're getting super granular, this really falls into the level of like e-com. So like it identifies search terms like running shoes or whatever else, like yoga or something like that, if like we wanted to get super, super granular. And then the fifth one is UTM content. So this identifies what specifically was clicked to bring the user to the site, such as a banner ad, a text link. It's usually used for like A/B testing. So if you have like image 1 versus image 2, or like an ad ID. So maybe you're running Facebook ads and you've got like 5 different versions of an ad inside of an ad set. You could like use the content as like ad 1, ad 2, ad 3, ad 4. You don't need to get that, in my opinion, you don't need to get that crazy of UTM tracking. What is most important to us would be like, what is the UTM source? So is it podcast? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it your email sequence? Is it your Facebook paid traffic, Instagram paid traffic? So if you're using UTMs, you can mostly just track like where is the source of the traffic coming from, and then what are they going on to buy. So what do we do with that? Once we put those UTM parameters into the URL, how do you pull out that data? There's two ways that I know of. Three, I guess. There's three ways I know of. The first way is through ClickFunnels. So if you're using ClickFunnels, they have a really excellent way to pull the UTM parameters inside of their reporting already. So if you want to look at their data and then click on like the filter icon, and that brings up all of the UTM sources. And so you could put in Google, or you could put in Pinterest or podcast or whatever, and then pull up the data that just carries that UTM parameter. So that's a benefit of using ClickFunnels. And one of the reasons why we have a love-hate relationship with them, but probably will never leave, is their ability to use UTM parameters. Another way is through Google Analytics. So if you are familiar with Google Analytics, or you want to pay somebody to help set up your Google Analytics, they can also grab the data from the UTM parameters and drop them into a dashboard. I am not a GA like super savvy person, so that's not my realm, but you can hire people on like Upwork to set up a dashboard for you so that you can understand that data. And then the third way that I know of is through tracking software, such as we just got off a call with somebody for LTV numbers who is setting this up for one of our clients. So we just had a really awesome phone call walking through the software. There are also other softwares. What do you know of, Maria, that are other softwares out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's Hyros by Alex Becker, and I think, what is the one we were just talking about earlier? Wicked Reports. A lot of people
Wicked
use.
Reports, yeah.
Yeah, we liked the granular level and the extra, I think, reporting capability of LTV numbers, which was cool. Mm-hmm. And some people get really into the Google stuff, right? And there's super metrics. I think, Mia, you tested out about a year ago. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff is intensive. So what I would recommend, you're all busy running and overwhelmed, probably running your own business. Like, oh my God, I got to learn something new, is hire someone, right? Yes. You know, because having the right source of truth data will could literally cut your ad costs by 30% if you know which campaigns or which audiences are producing higher LTVs. Because that's the thing, is like, a lot of people, and maybe Ashley, you can comment on this too. A lot of people judge their funnels maybe by, oh my God, I didn't make money in the first 5 days, I'm only breaking even. It's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? By the 30th day, you doubled your average order value, your lifetime value. So Ashley, do you want to comment on that? Because I'm sure you've seen that with the ads you're running for some.
Yeah, I'm actually going through that right now with a client. She just launched a new freebie, and there's a tripwire on the back end of it that is so the freebie is a checklist, and then the tripwire is actually, okay, like, let's implement it together. Here's a step-by-step. And the checklist is for 14 days. So we just started running it 12 days ago. So those leads haven't fully gone through the email sequence. And then on the 14th day, she's selling them into that product again, saying, okay, you've had 14 days now. Have you implemented it? No. Okay, let's buy now. So now we haven't had the sales that she was looking for right on the front end, but we're saying, okay, let's wait. Let's see how the email sequence does, because you never know how they're going to react later down the line. So that's one example of like a lead to a tripwire, but there's lots of examples where someone may see an ad, a month ago, and then not be in a space, and then they buy this time. So there's always lots of different, you never know you're going to hit someone in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah. And the benefits, another benefit of knowing this data is so crucial. And I think that's why we went on a mission in the last 30 days to really figure out our own, within the iAmpossible brand, lifetime value of a customer. And I know the brand's not even a year old, so we'll have more data in a year. But I know, Ashley, your hands were tied when we had a threshold of, okay, only, cut off ads that are over, say $60 cost per purchase, an example. Yet we know that one of our funnels was having about $60 to $70 average order value right from day zero, which is great. But knowing our gut was telling us that after 30 days, because we really nurture and we give a lot of value, and we're a unique team of all of our expertise, that we know that people buy from us over and over again. So I was pretty sure that our average order value or lifetime value, even within 30 to 60 days, probably doubles. Meaning, wouldn't that be great, Ashley, if I could tell you, go up to $120, Ashley? Like, who cares if there's a roller coaster of a week of craziness with Facebook ads? We can then weather that storm and not willy-nilly, that's the wrong word, but not turn ads off because Facebook's having a bad day or bad week for us. Because let's face it, every traffic source you're going to have roller coaster weeks.
Yeah.
Period. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's one way to track traffic sources, which is UTM parameters. And if all of that sounded really confusing to you, which is not, says nothing about you, UTM parameters can be incredibly confusing. The simple way to track whether or not a certain traffic source is working for you is to just duplicate out your funnels. So a lot of our clients that we run traffic for or build funnels for have a organic traffic funnel, and then they have a paid traffic funnel. Mm-hmm. When you're doing paid traffic, you are always sending them to a link that they can click. So to have a different URL that we send them to is not a big deal. If you have a high level URL like microoffermagic.com, like we had, or we have, when we're talking about it organically, we want to be able to like roll that off our tongues and say, go to microoffermagic.com, et cetera, et cetera. So the high level URL can be reserved for your organic funnel, because as you're doing podcasts and as you're talking to people on Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives and all that stuff, you want to be able to just roll it off your tongue. However, the paid traffic funnel can be microoffermagic.com/FB or whatever it is that you want to send them to, because it's always a link that they're going to click. So it's not going to be something that we necessarily put inside of or have to say out loud. So you can have a paid traffic funnel and then an exact mirror of an organic traffic funnel. And that's an excellent way to track whether or not your paid efforts are actually doing what you think they should be doing. Because a lot of times the data gets muddy when you're sending organic traffic and paid traffic to the same funnel. You don't know which one is doing the heavy lifting. And sometimes one message will work for your organic audience, and then another message might work for your paid audience. And here's a really good example. Our high ticket toolkit. We sold this. It is a phenomenal product, in my opinion. It's a masterclass. It's like a 2-hour masterclass with myself and Maria. We've got launch calculators and organic traffic segment and all that stuff. It is an amazing toolkit. We sold it for $19.95 to our audience. We sold it under the name of High Ticket Toolkit. To our existing audience inside of our email, it converted phenomenally. We sold like 145 slots altogether. Most of that came from our email list. We also attempted to run paid traffic, and we got a lot of comments that were like, the name doesn't necessarily match what the value is. So like High Ticket Toolkit, we were selling for $19.95 and it felt incongruent to some people. So we believed that it was poorly named. We were going to rename it 0 to 1 Million Roadmap and relaunch it. However, after talking with one of our paid groups, which is our highest paid group, I was having a conversation with them last week. And they said that there was no way that they would have bought if it were called 0 to 1 Million Roadmap. They bought because it was called High Ticket Toolkit. Like, what the heck? So the comments that we were getting from a cold traffic source based off of the name of the product were vastly different than what our existing audience was telling us. So what that tells me is that people who are on our list who know, like, and love us, they resonate with High Ticket Toolkit, and they already know the value that we're giving them. For $19.95, they already know that like this is going to be like stellar, and that's an amazing price. But to a cold audience, the price of the product and the name of the product were not congruent. And so we're going to run a split test here, and we're going to try and rename the product 0 to 1 Million Roadmap and run some cold traffic ads and see if that converts at all for us. But to our existing audience, that name did not. So that is a really good example of having the exact same product, naming it two different things and sending out two different messages based off of organic and paid. And you wouldn't know what was working the best for you if you didn't have two different funnels set up for that.
Well, and with that particular funnel, because in that case, I did have a UTM parameters in the emails. So source was email. So that's a little secret of ClickFunnels that we talked about earlier, that you could, when you're looking at the stats, you can go look at the more options, and there's a little field that most people don't know. I've been using ClickFunnels for years, and it took me by the third year to see that little thing. I think you, Mia, or you actually pointed it out to me. I'm like, crap, I didn't even know this existed in ClickFunnels. So you're looking at your stats, and under the source field, I just entered email, and then lo and behold, oh my God, our conversions were insane for the email traffic. Whereas then you can just manually calculate, because it was in one funnel, what the cold traffic conversion were. I'm like, ooh, not so good.
Well, and if you're not using ClickFunnels, because ClickFunnels makes it so simple to get UTMs, to track different funnel revenue. I have clients that are in Kajabi that want to be able to quickly look at their sales and know where that sale is coming from. So say they have a product named like High Ticket Toolkit, and they're selling it in email and on Pinterest and on Facebook. And on their sales report, it just says High Ticket Toolkit. It won't say like where it's coming from. So they'll actually take it a step further and duplicate the product out in Kajabi. So when they're looking at it, they'll know right out the gate what's performing. So we can say, oh, we had 5 sales today. 2 of them came from Pinterest. 3 of them came from Facebook, and we'll know right away where they're coming from. So it's really just playing to the platform you're on too, because everyone is going to be different. You'll have to really kind of figure out what works best for your products as well as the platform, because everybody, unfortunately, has different layouts and setups.
Can I repeat that, Ashley? Can you expand on that? Because I'm just going to say those 4 words: playing to the platform.
Yeah. So, well, and we talk about that, just, we reference ClickFunnels a lot because we love ClickFunnels, the accessibility of it, the way you're able to track other platforms. And I've worked on many, we all have worked on very many of them. Nothing compares to the way ClickFunnels reports on conversion data. So you can get right out the gate, you can see how many people are on the page, how many converted that day, and then how many bought that day. Whereas like, I'll say Kajabi because I have quite a few clients on Kajabi. You go in there and it gives you total stats over time. So I know of lifetime that there was 1,500 people visited the page. We've had 75 sales, just whatever that is. I'm not really able to break it down week by week. So what we have to do is we're tracking it. So I'll go in on Monday. We had this many new views this week. We had this many new sales this week. So we're able to put together conversion metrics, but it took time for us to figure out what makes sense for us to be able to get the data that we need. So we're tailoring. Annoying. It's so annoying. Kajabi has made leaps, but not as many strides as I would say. Like Kartra I was just reintroduced to Kartra by another client, and they've jumped a few rungs in the ladder, I would say, with what they're able to do now.
Nice.
But it really, just know what your platform is and what numbers you need to have week after week, and then put a plan in place to pull and save those numbers somewhere.
Yeah. And Facebook might be like Facebook versus Instagram, even though you run ads from the same business manager and Facebook owns Instagram and whatnot, a Facebook lead might not be the same value as an Instagram lead. So knowing that maybe your jam is on Instagram, and I've had a lot of people that I talk to that are like, I am not a Facebook person. All of my followers and customers and whatnot come directly from Instagram. I know a lot of people who say that. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because Instagram stories and whatever. I have no idea.
It's easier to be more visible on Instagram, I think.
Yeah. It's more of a visual platform. Mm-hmm. So an Instagram follower who then turns into a customer might be more valuable than a Facebook follower that then turns into a customer. So you wouldn't know that unless you were using UTM parameters to say like Facebook versus Instagram. You don't want to get super like crazy funnel happy, because then you'll have like 95 funnels. But
and then if you have a typo, you have to go fix all of them.
Yeah, that's terrible.
One thing to keep in mind though is that if you do want to break out Facebook and Instagram, is you'll have to build either separate ad sets or separate campaigns so that you can have the specific URL for each. I've had a similar conversation with clients where they'll think their audience is on Instagram, and then it turns out at least half of them are on Facebook, so they have an entirely untapped market on Facebook. I always like to test running on both. You may think your audience is in one place, but they could be either in both places or in more so in another place.
Yeah. Or maybe people see you on Instagram, but actually buy from Facebook. So it's very rare that I actually click through an ad on Instagram, but I will almost always click through an ad on Facebook. I don't know why.
It's how you use the platform differently. Instagram, you're wanting to scroll and just look and catch up. And Facebook, you're actually a little bit more in tune, I think, with what you're reading.
Fascinating. All right, let's go see if we've got some comments on if you're live with us on Facebook, we got quite a few people live with us today, which is exciting.
It is.
Let's see what we got.
Everyone knows what we're going to ask before we ask it, about asking you to comment live or replay if you're watching either. I think it's really cool.
Maria Jones says it's like Mia is sponsored by Starbucks. Here's a fun fact. My first job was at Starbucks and I worked there for 10 years. But you always see that I have a Starbucks cup. It's like super bright, but that is because I buy the reusable Starbucks cups. So I don't visit Starbucks every single morning. I just make my coffee in these reusable cups. So, Starbucks does sponsor me though, or at least they should. Somebody should get on that. There's nothing better than a friend recommendation. Absolutely. Friends buy from friends. 100%. Oh, somebody says, Ginger says, Sally, loving your background. Sally's wishing she were in the Bahamas, the tropics. Love it. Love it. All right, friends, traffic sources. Your sales funnel is absolutely nothing without traffic. So once you've got some traffic running through your funnel, it's important to know the value of your traffic, where people are coming from, so that you can put your money in the right place. There are a few ways that you can push traffic through your funnel. There's organic, there's paid, and there's also affiliates, which Maria made her first $1 million through affiliates. So that is an untapped resource I think that everybody should consider. 2 ways that we know of to track your traffic is through UTM parameters. If you're using ClickFunnels, ClickFunnels makes it really easy. Google UTM parameters and you can learn a lot more about them and how to use them. Fun fact, they are Google UTM parameters. So there's a lot of information out there for you. And the other way, and the super simple way, is to just duplicate your funnel for paid versus organic traffic. So if you are not to that point yet where you even have traffic running through your funnel, I encourage you to consider some organic ways to push through traffic, either through podcasts or Instagram stories or Facebook Lives or something like that. If you are always talking about your funnel, word will get around eventually. So until next time, have an amazing week and we'll see you later.